The most what the moment with your siblings? My sister used to sleepwalk into my room and just stare at me with a soulless murder glare. It was scary. I was winning a watermelon eating contest. My sister, realizing she could never beat me, picked up a half watermelon and bashed me in the back of the head with it, knocking me out cold. This one time I was asleep and my lil bro walked in and just got into bed with me. I was like, bro, what are you doing? This isn't your bed. To which he responds, I think I know what I'm doing. And fell asleep instantly. I said it and went to sleep in his bed. Edit. He was snoring obnoxiously loud. I've shared this before, but it seems applicable here. If a bit more tame than many stories here. One time I walked past the bathroom to get to my room. My brother had left the door open and was standing on the toilet seat, waiting for me to pass. As he sees me, he exclaims, "This is how a man takes a dump." Makes a loud HNGGGGG noise, and drops a thick log right in front of my eyes. My brother tried to kill me. He was 13. I was 9. He was always a bully and picked on me relentlessly, but this day he threw me on the ground and started choking me with both hands. Not in a way like you see on TV when someone just squeezes your neck, but the correct way where you jam both thumbs into someone's trachea. Couldn't breath. Couldn't gasp. Just felt cold and my vision started to go to tunnel vision. Then black. When I came to, my mom had hit him over the head with a broom. I don't remember much after that, but I'll never trust him. I like your mum. My brother, directly after the funeral, stole our uncle's war medals from his bedroom. His wife found out, told me and my mother, and then my mother made me sneak them back in. I had just finished riding my bike home from a friend's place to see my mom pull into the driveway. Out of the other side of the car my sister's head popped out. She'd been off to college and I didn't expect to see her. My first thought, which I openly said because I was a little, was, why is sis home? She get knocked up in college? Out steps my very pregnant sister. It was a rare double what the moment, as I was surprised to see her that I'm pregnant. And both my sister and mom were shocked at my accurate joke guess, an inappropriate guess. To be fair, I was out on a car ride with my dad and we arrived back at the house at like 3 AM. My front door opens straight into my kitchen and I throw open the door expecting an empty kitchen, only to see my brother buck ass naked standing in front of the sink. I screamed, "Why the are you naked?" He scrambled back to the shower. Apparently he was mid-shower. His back hurt, so he went to the kitchen to start heating water for a hot water bottle for his back. And just stopped to have a snack or something while waiting for the water to boil. All while leaving the shower running. My dad still laughs about it. Edit. Clarification. Edit 2. Yes. 3 AM. My family keeps odd hours. Especially back when we were at school and it was summer break. My half siblings are 8 and 9 years younger than me. And one Sunday morning I woke up to laughter and wee sounds coming from downstairs. I went to investigate and found that they had emptied a carton of milk, through which they were now sliding around on the floor. Naked. I'm imagining you are all in your 40s. Sister logged into my RuneScape account and finished the Dragon Slayer quest that 10-year-old me with limited playtime had spent months to gear up for. I was devastated. I was sitting in front of the television one day when my sister walked behind me. She threw a little bouncy ball at me, but it bounced off my head, hit the television, bounced back off my head and back at her. She was so surprised that it was such a perfect shot that she decided to try again to repeat it. I was so happy that my sister was playing with me that I sit there as she threw this ball at my head trying to repeat the shot for like a half hour. Dude, that's so depressing. Once I was taking her and my brother barges and starts sighing and yells 2 players. My family decided to spend Christmas in Mexico at an all-inclusive resort after I had moved across the country for work. My siblings and I were sharing a room. One night my brother gets in late from drinking. I wake up and see him standing over my luggage. I say, what the are you doing? He says, taking a buying. I was furious. He never did really apologize. My sister cut my hanky down thingy that connects my upper lip with my gums with a pair of scissors while I was asleep. The internet tells me this is called the frenulum. We were naughty best of friends growing up. Watching TV with my older sister. She gets up, walks over to the house phone, and picks it up. Hello? She said. Yes, he is. One moment. She covers the microphone. It's for you. Been thick. Crazy. I didn't hear it ring. I think to myself. I walk to the phone. My sister begins savagely beating me with the corded phone. For no reason. She concocted a ruse just to beat me with a phone. Interesting. Is she single? When I was 16, I went with my family to visit my grandfather at the old folks' home. Well, I ended up striking a conversation with another guy there who had an Irish accent. After a few minutes, my then 7-year-old brother asks this guy, why are you talking Mexican? He just laughed. But I was so embarrassed that I didn't know how to react. If you add a comma in that sentence, it sounds a lot more evil. Why are you talking Mexican? When I was about 4, my parents told my brother, aged 13, to take my sister and I for a walk for an hour. I think my parents wanted some private time. He took us for a walk, alright. We were gone for 12 hours. My parents were frantic and the police were looking for us. God knows what he was thinking, but he's always been a bit of an idiot. My sister discovered her inner thinking voice when she was like 4. She came downstairs into the kitchen totally distraught and said, who is talking to me all whole time? Everywhere I go somebody talks to me about the things I do, but I can't see anybody. Came downstairs from being asleep. Living room is in disarray. Blood drops are on the floor and I see little flecks here and there on the wall. I say to my GF, what happened? Concerned someone got injured or something. Your brothers had a scissor fight, she tells me. A scissor fight? Yes. Those two lying brain surgeons took up craft scissors and went at each other in my living room while my, no doubt horrified, GF watched on in shock and awe. They were gone by the time I woke up, thank Christ. But the evidence was hard to miss. I was this close to beating M. Bison in Street Fighter II and my big brother pulled the plug because he wanted me out of the room to smoke weed with his buddies. A case of justifiable fratricide if I ever did hear one. The time I came home from school and found a horse in the garden, which my brother had bought from nearby gypsy campsite. Told my sister to come inside for dinner. She was hitting balls down our driveway with a field hockey stick. She immediately turned and swung full force into my face, breaking my nose and deviating my septum. That was 20 years ago and she won't talk to me because I've wronged her in the past. Bitch, I can't breathe out my right nostril. My brother and I used to share a room when we were kids. One day I woke up and saw my brother standing in the middle of the room trying to mount a toy gun on his dick. Hey. Sometimes you need protection. Probably when I was 9 and my older brother was 13. We were home watching TV one day during the summer. He was flipping through channels and stopped on an episode of Donahue that featured a male stripper right in the middle of his routine with an audience of middle-aged women cheering. He put the remote down and excitedly said, "We're watching this." He's now married with 2 kids and is aspiring to be a Baptist minister. He's now married with 2 kids and is aspiring to be a Baptist minister. He gay. So gay. I tell this story anytime I get the chance to embarrass my brother. I was about 9. Making him about 6. Thanksgiving dinner at our grandparents' house. We were both in the kitchen together. Just the 2 of us. Each with a slice of pumpkin pie. My little brother grabs the salt shaker from the table. Slowly unscrews the cap. Dumps the entire shaker of salt on his pie. And eats the whole thing. making eye contact with me the whole time. He had this look like he knew what he was doing, so I didn't question it. 20 minutes later, he's chasing a cousin through the hall. He dead stops, says, "Oh," and projectile vomits all over the walls and floor. He is descended upon by adults asking him what the matter is. His response? Too much salt. I was the only one who knew what he meant. Edit. Whoa. My first gold. Thank you. Sir or madam. I will share it with my brother, who will pour an entire shaker of salt on it. It was pretty awkward when he knocked on my bedroom door to give me condoms when my boyfriend was over. But also very nice of him to be worried about me like that. The what the moment comes from his girlfriend later that day sharing with me, "I know you probably don't want to know this, but your brother's dick is huge." I super did not want to know that. You. Shannon. When I was young, about 13, my family was leaving my grandparents' house after a weekend visit. It was a long drive home. About 4 hours. I had to pee really bad and my parents hated stopping. So I discreetly grabbed my empty Mountain Dew bottle and emptied my bladder into it. It wasn't hard to hide being in the backseat of an SUV. Well, I put it under the seat after I was finished, and when I got home I totally forgot about it. My parents cleaned out the car later and my thought was they threw it away. Nope. They placed it in the fridge thinking it was a half full bottle of pop. Well, I only figured this out because my sister took a drink out of it and screamed. She said it must have been old and been in there forever because it tasted horrible. I was horrified. But I took it from her. Fake smelled it and threw it away saying, "Yeah, that's disgusting." I have never told her or anyone for that matter what really happened. My little sister looked at me dead-eyed once and told me, "You have demons in you. You need to get them out," or something along those lines. I asked her WTF she was talking about and she just kinda went back to doing her thing. Also, she ran my GBA under running water once. Overwrote my save file to start a new game. Bastard. I will never forgive you. My favorite story is that I once went outside at 1 AM to watch a meteor shower and my brother's bedroom window faced the backyard. I don't know why he was up. He was maybe 12 at the time. And I hear him open the window and shout, "Who's out there?" I reply, "Just me." And he says, "Oh, I'll be right out." My brother gets out of bed at 1 in the morning, puts on some shoes and comes outside and says, "So what are we doing?" The kid was forever down for late night adventures apparently. Edit. I'm surprised that this resonated with so many people. This is my favorite story about my brother. My brother and I were in our early teens. Mom and dad divorced when we were 4-6-ish. Mom never dated anyone. One day we found a sausage in a tied up condom. Pukes were had. Well, at least you know what to get her for Christmas. Edit. My sister spoiled Dumbledore's death for me. She read the Half-Blood Prince in 24 hours. Asked me if I wanted to know what happened. I said no. She told me anyway. I'm still mad. You. Laura. I made a collage of all of the mugshots that I found online of my sister and texted it to her. My sister shoved a popcorn kernel in my ear canal when we were around 4-5. My sister complaining bitterly about, "Why do you get a new car and your own apartment?" The answer was, "Because I work for a living." Which apparently was a deeply offensive thing to say. Go figure. One of my sisters and I shared a room. One day she showed me her jewelry box, which was full of her petrified toilet paper wrapped poops. She then proceeded to show me how to do it by laying toilet paper across the toilet seat and said I could save my poops too. Yeah. I took a pass on that one. Spent months and months grinding to get my Raichu to level 100 in Pokemon Leaf Green. Really proud and felt like I peaked at age 9. One evening, my parents forced me to give up my GBA to my sister because she's whiny and 7. Takes all of my OP attacks and replaces them with HMs. Devastated and will never forgive her. My mom was recently divorced and had a friend with a daughter my age. Let's call him Mark. The daughter and I were both 14 and got a lot of alone time together. So obviously there was some mutual experimenting. Well, it got really weird about 2 years later when my mom and Mark announced they were getting married and I was going to have a new stepsister. Never trust daughters who are called Mark. I came home from college for Thanksgiving and the very first thing my brother says to me is, if you think about it. Forgive me, father, for I have sinned is just a fancy way of saying sorry, daddy. I've been bad. Then, during Thanksgiving dinner, he looked down, patted his stomach and softly said, "Hey babe. Ready for round 2? Cause I sure am," and then he got up and got another helping of turkey and mashed potatoes. Not the most WTF, but one we still like to joke about. My grandmother generally sends us all cards at Christmas. But a few years ago we all got our cards in the mail and things didn't quite match up. My oldest sister and I got the usual cards with sweet heartfelt messages from our grandma. My other sister got that and $100. My sister called a German Shepherd a shepherd's pie. It still makes me wonder if I was adopted. Edit. Used to keep my pot up in one of my ceiling tiles when I was a teen. Sister finds it. Invites 15 friends over and they cumulatively smoke an ounce of my. Get home to find my box with about a bowl left and then I'm the one who gets in trouble for having pot. Not something my siblings did but something I did. One time when I was really little, like 2 or 3. My mom overheard me in my sister's bathroom singing to myself. She got closer and I was singing about cleaning my bottom. When my mom opened the door and saw me using my sister's electric toothbrush, turned on, to clean my asshole. Not necessarily WTF. But my brother got drunk at a restaurant and loudly came out to my conservative Christian parents as B. Heads turned to see my parents trying to not cry. Good times. Probably that time I found my brother trying on my underwear. To clarify, he was probably like 7 at the time. So there really wasn't anything creepy about it. It was just weird. Edit 1. TBH, I'm not sure if adding that he's on the autism spectrum makes this worse or not. Edit 2. I think what I failed to mention is that a ton of was going on in our lives at that point and it affected us negatively for years. Mostly my brothers. We were living with our verbally abused grandma and my brothers were her favorite targets. My total of grandma gave him enough about it already. It's a toss-up between 2 things that happened yesterday and trying to steal my niece's carnival prize. Like rip it from her hands. She bought a surprise puppy for my mom and surprised us yesterday morning. Because ignoring all the pets most of the time gives her the right to buy another animal for the rest of us to take care of. We got a refund and the puppy is back with the breeder. Later that night, she yelled at me for stopping my 3-year-old niece from literally running with scissors. Don't tell me to contact CPS. I'm working through things with a lawyer and gathering evidence to have a 100% open and shut case to evict my sister and receive custody at the same time to prevent a kidnapping. I'm a guy. I was 8 at the time. And my older brother was 11. I knew nothing about sex. I'm assuming he just learned the details. He comes upstairs and says, "Hey, can I put my penis in your butthole?" I didn't know what to say. And after some silence I said no. He then said, "Can I at least put my penis into your mouth?" I said no again. And I was really confused about the whole thing. Well, at least he asked and took no as an answer. Little sister faked cancer. I live in the UK studying and parents didn't tell me because they had suspected the truth. Made us feel like assholes at times. Because what if she really did? But father, mailman, has a bunch of doctors en route and he would tell crazy she would tell us, burns from chemo. Don't have to pay because she knew someone. Was still out partying and getting drunk. Would take time off of work due to treatment and her cancer survivor boss was all supportive at first. Mimic the exact cancer types that took both sides of grandparents. With symptoms of my mother added in. Was massive rift in family. But about 2 years ago she just stopped talking about it. Turns out BF broke up with her and that was her way to get attention. But I lost all respect after that. My younger brother and I, probably 6 and 9 at the time, were in a coffee shop as kids during a long road trip in the mid-90s. At the time, I happened to be jamming out on my new road trip companion, the Sony Walkman. My brother spies 2 people at the counter, who happen to be dwarfs. I can see the terror in his eyes as he backs behind a short table. You see, we had just watched the old Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder, and my brother was absolutely terrified of the Oompa Loompas. Now, being a good older brother, I see the panic on my brother and go to him. I say, actually, let me be clear, with my sweet Walkman blasting the hits of the 90s. I shout at full volume. Don't worry Alex, those aren't Oompa Loompas. They're just midgets. My dad stops mid-order, calmly walks over to us, takes us each by the hand, and moves directly back to the car. Needless to say, not my finest moment. Brother asks to borrow money. Loaned brother 600. 6 months goes by. Me, hey, can I get that 600 back that I loaned you? Him, what 600? Me, refreshing his memory. Him, if you wanted that back, you should have never gave it to me. My brother came home after his first week of college. Snuck in the house while we were sleeping. Unpacked and went to bed and woke up in the morning acting like he had never gone away to college. Refused to talk about it and acted like we were all crazy when we did. He was 10 years older than me, so I was only 8 at the time, but I remember my parents being very worried. He still won't acknowledge that he ever went to college. When I was younger, probably 10-12, my older brother did something that I still think about to this day. My dad, my brother, and me were all getting ready to go see a movie. My brother told me, hey, do you know how if you are good at something you are called a master? I was like, yeah. He went on to say, so if you were a really good fisherman, would you be called? I replied, a master fisherman. He continued, and just as we were about to get in the car he asked quietly, what if you were a good baiter? And I exclaimed, a masturbator. My dad snapped at me and I got in so much trouble. Didn't even know what I was saying. Technically not my sibling, my sil. We went on a road trip with my husband's family, including significant others. His half-sister, 18-year-old, was dating a woman she had never met from halfway across the world. She threw tantrums every day complaining that we were not giving her enough privacy for FaceTiming her girlfriend. She would FaceTime her in the car while we were driving to various activities or in the living room of our vacation rental. She had her own bedroom but said she shouldn't have to be locked away to be with her lover. Her words, not mine. She even told her dad and brother to stop using their 4G because they were using up all the data she needed to FaceTime her girlfriend. They actually got married about a year later. My brother tried to smother me in my sleep. We shared a room and he had some problems, but I woke up to him hovering over me with a pillow and I screamed. He pushed down and my mom rushed in. I slept in her room for the next couple weeks while we found him help. Once when my brother and I were teenagers, I walked into his room after hearing a strange knocking sound and found him completely naked, standing on a chair and humping the door. It was by far the most awkward eye contact we have ever made. My sister took my copy of Pokemon Platinum and threw it out without me knowing because she was mad at me. That copy had a shiny Giratina on it. I was, at most, 4 years old. My little sister was 2 years younger than me. We were eating dinner at one of those Japanese restaurants where they cook the food on the table. Well, dinner was eaten. Time went on. And I was wondering if the table was still hot. So, using the only thing I could think of, my little sister's hand, I tested the table. And indeed, it was still pretty hot. Little brother walked into the hallway totally naked in front of my mom, pointed at his dick, and said, "Look mom, it's getting bigger." Not my sibling but my mom's. It was my grandfather's funeral 2 days after he died. My uncle's wife of 5 years. Berated my mother because she was not mentioned in the obituary, screaming at my crying mother in front of about 75 people. My uncle supported his wife in doing this and thought it was appropriate.